You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello, pet parents. Welcome. This is Michelle Fern, host of Best Bets for Pets. I have a great product for you. What do you do when your house stinks? Well, those little air sprays are usually not enough, especially if you have a cat like mine. Stay tuned. I have a great solution. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
X-Power is a global brand that offers a complete line of stand dryers, cage dryers, and multiple blasters that cater to both home and professional groomers. Designed to be quiet, lightweight, and powerful, X-Power pet dryers will save you time, energy, and money. The X-Power B2 Pro at-Home dryer is the perfect gift for family and friends. Please check out our specials at viperpet.com and amazon.com. For more information, visit xpower.ws or call 855-855-8868.
Hi, this is Tim Link, animal communicator and pet expert and host of Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have you ever wanted to know what your pet is really thinking? Do you want to find out if they truly understand what you're trying to tell them? Ever wish you could build a better understanding and closer relationship with your pet? Well, now you can. Learning to Communicate with Animals is a 4-part on-demand workshop. In the workshop, you'll learn the essential techniques that are necessary to communicate with animals, including what is animal communication, breathing correctly to achieve the perfect state to communicate with your animals at a deeper level, using guided meditation exercises and method to communicate with animals, and how to send and receive information from your animals. So if you're wanting to learn how to communicate and connect with your animals at a deeper level, visit PetLifeRadio.com/workshop and purchase and download Learning to Communicate with Animals. You'll be glad you did.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, pet parents. I'd like to welcome Bill Converse of CritterZone. He's the president and inventor of this great air purifier. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thank you for having me on.
So I'm so excited. First of all, let's talk a little bit about CritterZone. How did you come up with the idea?
You know, I've been involved in air purification for, I think, almost 30 years now. I hate to admit that, but it's always been a problem because products that worked well cost too much. And when I retired, I really had the opportunity to sit down and look at the whole field of air purification and have found a way to make a product that really did work and that was affordable. And I thought that the very first place we were going to try it was with pets because, in general, they've got some of the worst problems.
That's true. And before we get into how CritterZone works, I'd like to let my listeners know, I actually tried the CritterZone Air Purifier right by where my cat's litter box is, which if you have a cat, you know about litter boxes. They smell. And you know, one thing is that there's so many different types of cat litter and they all claim to do a really good job, but there's still the smell. Cat litter doesn't always mask all of the odor. So that's why I think CritterZone does a great job of really getting rid of the smell. Especially if you have a big cat like mine. It sounds nasty, but you know, if you have a cat, you need something strong. And a lot of times we'll have an animal smell in the house and you don't really notice it, but people do. Or you notice it and it hits you when you first walk in and then it kind of permeates, but your company does. This air purifier works amazing. It really took away all of the odor.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that, you know, and that's the way most people find out about how well the product works. We can describe a lot of the technology and everything, but there are so many products out there that I have found that, you know, they as you say, they work, but they don't work. You really know that you've got a problem, and maybe you don't notice it because you've got a great love for your pet, but all of your neighbors and everybody that comes to visit notice that there is an odor. And odors are only really one part of the problem that we're dealing with in the modern environments. We we also have the problem that when there's an odor, in general, there's also probably the things that people are sensitive to in the form of allergens. And between those two things, the odors and the impact that allergens have on people, it's one of the reasons why so many pets today, for example, go unadopted, just because people don't want to really take on that responsibility. And so I'm really glad you had a chance to try it, and I really hope that people take advantage of the fact that we do offer that kind of an opportunity so you can really try it, because in a lot of respects it's too good to believe.
Now, you mentioned something interesting, allergens. A lot of people are allergic to cat dander because, you don't really bathe cats. They do it themselves, and it doesn't get all the dust and all of that off. How effective would the CritterZone product be to someone? I'm not talking someone who's super, super, super sensitive to cats. They might have a problem that is maybe no type of device can help at all. But if someone has just a mild allergy, how effective would the CritterZone be?
Well, way more than you might expect, and people with very, very serious cat allergies have had some very good luck with our product, just because it treats the allergens a lot differently than most solutions to odors and allergens do. And in fact, what we do is we deactivate the allergen rather than trying to get it out of the environment. And so the people that still have the sensitivities to that particular protein can be exposed to the modified protein and not even know that it's happening to them. And of course, as you say, if you've got somebody that's just tremendously allergic, it'll help them, but it won't make the problem go away in general. And, cats get a lot of the blame as being something that if you've got allergies, it's going to really show up with them. It's been my experience that people are becoming more and more sensitive, and more kinds of pets are starting to become a problem because, as you say, the cat licking itself, the saliva is a problem, but also the things that are in the urine and the feces and on the skin of not only cats, but of dogs, of hamsters, of gerbils, of almost everything you can think of are just about as sensitive, just about as much of an allergen to somebody that's sensitive as cat dander is to a lot of other people.
That's really interesting. So let's talk about the CritterZone Air Purifier. It's a relatively small unit. Does it come in different sizes? And then also, can you tell my listeners, maybe not too technical, but basically how it works?
Sure. As you say, the unit's very small. It's about 3 inches by 4 inches by 5 inches. If you can imagine, it's about the size of a kind of a large nightlight that you might have, and it comes in two different models. One of them plugs directly into an electrical outlet, and the other one has a nice long 10-foot cord on it so that you can put it someplace more convenient and just be able to expose it into a room. As small as it is, it makes no noise because it doesn't work like a filter. It actually works on modifying the active ingredients that are in the air, and so we don't need a big fan. It doesn't make any noise, and as a matter of fact, we have trouble convincing people that it's doing anything at all, except that they say, well, it's not doing anything, but my room smells fresh. And that's about what happens. It does not have any real characteristic odor, but your room, as you notice, will start to turn very, very fresh. And the way it works is quite, as you say, it's complicated if we get into the physics and chemistry, but it's quite simple. Indoor air, by and large, does not have any ability to clean itself as compared to outdoor air. It's because all the active ingredients in the air that are put there by Mother Nature are stripped out of it just because the air is trapped inside. And so what we do is we take the moisture in the air, we expose it to a very high electrical field so that we re-energize or recreate the energy of the outdoor air in it, and then that starts a process that lets you start breaking down the proteins and the actual chemicals that create the odors, and you get the same effect as you get just by having nature clean the air. And as you well know, when nature cleans the air, it just feels clean and there's no leftover odors or anything like that. And that's what we hope to be able to get every time we let somebody use a CritterZone.
That is really interesting. Now, a lot of air purifiers have some sort of filter or something that needs to be changed.
That's kind of a neat thing because all that we have is electricity. There are no filters to replace. There's no consumable portion of it at all. And so as long as it's hooked up and running, and we recommend running them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they only cost about 0.7 of a cent a day to run. So we hope that the air will stay clean and fresh. And because it's designed to run that way all the time, people will find that it also takes care of a lot of the other non-pet associated odors that you might have in a closed-in house. So all that moldy smell, the musty smell, all those kinds of odors are diminished as well, because they're all basically the same kind of an odor. It's just that this particular product is optimized for the use with pets.
Now, you said something interesting, that this is optimized for the use of pets. Are there other zones coming out that are not critter, maybe house zone or my kid's stuff smells zone or something like that?
Well, we do have another product that's called Air Restore, and as the name implies, where we're restoring the natural cleaning power of the air back into the air itself. And those are good for people, and primarily for people. But these particular units are designed so that they can handle the stronger, the more persistent problems that are associated with pets. I had a person just recently write back to us that she'd plugged it in, and first when she opened the box, she wasn't going to plug it in because she felt it was too small to do any good. And she had the sugar gliders, and she had dogs and cats, and I try to remember all of the things that she had, but she had a small menagerie in her closed-in porch, and then all of her pets that were inside. And she said that 1 hour of using this particular product, it was like she'd opened the windows and let the house totally air out. And she also commented on that just the odors associated with occupying a house by a person really started to go away.
That's amazing. We talked about that. The product size is kind of small. What size area would you say that the CritterZone cleans?
Well, if you've got a nice big open area, it will clean up to about 800 square feet. And if you look at the ratings on most other kinds of even much, much larger air purifiers, you'll see that's huge. In reality, if you've got a lot of broken up spaces where the air doesn't circulate, you probably will need more than one. We were talking about the people who are very allergic to their pets or have very strong reactions to them. And we would generally recommend that they put something near a litter box or near where the dog sleeps or something like that, and then put another unit in the room of the person that is the most sensitive to it, to that particular pet, and that cleans up that area especially well. And it just makes good sense to have 2 units rather than one, because they're fairly inexpensive.
Now, we talked about affordable and that the unit's inexpensive. How much is it approximately?
I can tell you my very first units that I built 20 or 30 years ago ended up costing like $700. These are much more affordable. They retail at $89.95. And they should last many, many years. We don't know what the life expectancy is on them, but I'm guessing it's in excess of 5 to 10 years.
That's very, very reasonable. And for someone who has suffers the allergies or the smell of it, for less than pennies a day for the life expectancy of the product, that's a great price.
We estimate that you can totally maintain it, including the cost of the electricity and everything that you might need, for about $2 a year.
Wow, fantastic. Now, where can my listeners, which are all over the world, find CritterZone?
We have a website that they can go to. It's www.CritterZoneUSA.com.
And is CritterZone able to ship all over the world?
We can ship all over the world. The products are actually a universal voltage, so that you can even take them with them. One of the things that a lot of our customers do is get a little extra cigarette lighter adapter that we have, and they can take that same unit and put it in their RV or their camper or their car, and so it's easy to haul your pet with you. And if you happen to go to a hotel or something that is pet friendly, you can even put them in the room with you, so that it'll help both you and your pet.
Oh, that's fantastic. Bill, thank you so much for coming on Best Bets for Pets and telling my listeners all about CritterZone. Listeners, you can find out more about CritterZone on this episode on PetLifeRadio.com. You can also find out more downloading the podcast on iTunes. We're now on Stitcher and TuneIn and iTunes Radio as well. You can find out more about CritterZone at www.CritterZoneUSA.com. And Bill, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank my crew for helping me test CritterZone. Nikki, Dennis, the cat who sometimes is smelly, and Mr. Z. I'd like to thank my producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound great. And I would love to thank all my listeners for listening. I appreciate all of my recent messages. I've gotten a lot of messages lately from Australia and Japan. So thank you. Keep listening. We appreciate it.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.